I didn't feel the bleach at first. Just a cold shock. Then the burn. The smell of chemicals punched the air, sharp enough to make my eyes water. I looked down and watched, helplessly, as my brand new navy suit began to bubble and fade, the fibers literally dissolving under the bleach. And across my lawn, like she'd just conquered a nation, stood Karen Westfield, president of the Lakeside Estates HOA, destroyer of good moods, and self-proclaimed guardian of neighborhood standards. She held 2 empty bleach bottles like victory flags. "This isn't Wall Street," she screamed. "You're not better than us. Stop pretending." Her voice echoed down the quiet street. Curtains rustled. Blinds shifted. Shadowy silhouettes of neighbors hovered in their windows, watching the drama unfold like the season finale of their favorite show. I stood frozen on my driveway, bleach dripping off my sleeves. My suit, my investment, my armor for the biggest pitch of my career, gone. Destroyed. My throat tightened. My heartbeat hammered inside my chest. But worse than the ruined suit was the realization settling like a stone in my stomach. Karen wasn't just petty. She was unhinged. And today, she'd crossed a line she couldn't walk back from. I had moved into Lakeside Estates 3 months earlier, finally able to afford a quiet neighborhood after years of 80-hour work weeks, back-to-back client calls, and eating dinner over my keyboard. The house wasn't just a home. It was proof. Proof that every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every business risk had finally been worth it. But what I didn't know was that behind the perfect lawns and polite smiles lurked a different kind of monster. Not a thief, not a criminal, but a control-obsessed HOA president who treated the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. And the moment I arrived, Karen seemed to decide I was a threat. It started subtly. I'd step outside for work in the mornings, briefcase in hand, suit perfectly pressed, and she'd be there, across the street, coffee mug in hand, eyes locked on me, not curious, not friendly, analyzing, judging, like my suit was a direct insult to her existence. 2 weeks after moving in, she approached me as I checked my mailbox. "You know," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "no one dresses like that around here. Those fancy suits make it look like you think you're better than everyone." I laughed politely. I genuinely thought she was joking. "Oh, it's just for work," I explained. "I meet with CEOs and investors daily. Comes with the territory." Her smile twitched, flattened, cooled. Her eyes, however, lit up. Not with understanding, but with confirmation of some narrative she'd already crafted in her head. That was the moment I stepped into her crosshairs. I just didn't know it yet. A few days later, I found a printed warning notice in my mailbox claiming I violated the neighborhood dress code. Newsflash: there was no dress code. I checked the official HOA bylaws front to back. Nothing. No clothing rules. No appearance regulations. Not a single line. Then came anonymous complaint letters. Handwritten notes about my elitist energy. My disruptive aura. Yes, someone actually used the word aura. But the real fun started when Karen initiated random property inspections. Always unannounced. Always perfectly timed with the exact moment I was leaving for work in my suit. "That grass looks half an inch too long. That mailbox seems off regulation. Your trash can was visible for 15 minutes past pickup." Each ridiculous claim came with a fine. And each time I attended the HOA meetings, presented evidence, proved her wrong, and won. And each win only twisted her deeper into resentment. Some neighbors warned me quietly, "That woman's been a tyrant for years. She only stops when people fight back hard. She loves control more than oxygen." But most stayed silent. They were afraid of her, or worse, afraid of losing her favor. Her husband was a well-connected businessman, and Karen used that influence like a weapon. Still, harassment was one thing. What happened next was something else entirely. Last Tuesday, as I backed out of my driveway, Karen stepped into the middle of the road, just stood there, hands on hips, red-faced, daring me to hit her. "Stop parading around like you own this place," she snapped. "No one needs to wear 3-piece suits in a middle-class neighborhood. I lowered my window, fighting to stay calm. Karen, HOA rules cover property maintenance, not personal clothing. Her expression hardened, eyes narrowed, and without saying another word, she turned and stormed off. But the look in her eyes told me something. Something dangerous. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Today was supposed to be huge. Massive. The kind of day that could take my business national. I prepped my pitch for weeks. Learned every statistic, every line, every slide. I even bought a brand new navy suit. Tailored, sharp, confident. I walked out of my front door feeling ready. Focused. Determined. And there she was, Karen, standing beside my car, waiting, like a shadow that learned how to scream. She held a spray bottle, a large, industrial-looking one. "You just don't listen," she seethed. "Karen, what?" Before I finished, she sprayed me. The cold mist hit my chest, my arms, my face. The sharp burn of bleach filled my nose. I stumbled backward. "What are you doing?" She didn't stop. She didn't blink. "Stop dressing like a CEO," she screamed. "This is a middle-class neighborhood, not your stupid Wall Street runway." When the bottle finally sputtered empty, she dropped it at my feet, gave me one last hateful glance, and walked away, victorious in her own twisted mind. I stood there shaking, not from fear, not even anger, but disbelief. My suit ruined, my meeting destroyed, my morning derailed. My patience gone. And then, a voice came from behind me. I got all of that on my security camera. I turned. Mr. Chin, my quiet neighbor from 2 doors down. Kind, soft-spoken, always watering his lilies at sunset. He held up his phone. On the screen, clear as daylight, was the full video of the assault. "She's gone too far this time," he said firmly. And then another neighbor stepped out. Then another. And another, all with stories, all with complaints, all ready to speak. I wasn't Karen's first target. I was just the first one who finally said, "Enough." I took photos of my suit, of the bleach bottles, of the stains on the ground. I called the police, explained everything, sent my investors a photo of the damage and told them what happened. They were surprisingly understanding. "We'll reschedule," they said. "We'd rather meet when you aren't recovering from chemical warfare." 20 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. They watched the footage in silence, exchanged a look. "That's assault," one said flatly. "No doubt about it." They marched straight to Karen's house. From my driveway, I watched her through her living room window. She was pacing, gesturing aggressively, talking so fast her arms looked like helicopter blades. At one point, she pointed toward my house, shouting something that made the officers' faces harden. Minutes later, they returned. "She claims she was trying to help you remove a stain," one officer said. I laughed, a real, exhausted, bitter laugh. "You saw the footage." "We did," he replied. "And that's why we believe you." I pressed charges on the spot. Assault, harassment, destruction of property. The officers went back to her door, and this time they didn't walk in. They walked her out. In handcuffs, the street fell silent. Neighbors stood outside, watching like spectators at a historic event. Some looked shocked, but many looked relieved. For years, Karen controlled everything, and now, finally, she'd lost. 3 weeks later, I attended her hearing. Karen looked nothing like the HOA dictator she once was. No clipboard. No taid bun. No superiority. Just a broken, trembling woman sitting at the defendant's table. The judge didn't buy a single excuse. Not one. He listed her charges, played the footage, heard the testimonies, found her guilty. 6 months probation. $1,500 restitution for my suit. 100 hours of community service. Restraining order. And the biggest blow, the HOA board voted unanimously to remove her as president. Her face cracked, completely. "But I was protecting the neighborhood," she cried. The bailiff took her arm. No one responded. For someone who had spent years barking orders, the silence was the loudest punishment of all. Weeks have passed. My suit has long been replaced. My investor meeting rescheduled and successful. My business finally expanding. And Karen? She's gone. Out of the HOA. Out of my life. Every morning I leave for work still wearing my suits. Not because I want to show off. Not because I want to make a statement. But because after everything she did, I realized something powerful. You don't dim your light just because someone else hates how bright it shines. Some people don't want fairness. They want control. And the moment you stop letting them define your worth, you win.